Che is back with us. Welcome back, sir.
It's good to be back, Ari.
I showed viewers a little bit of where we are. Some of it's familiar, but it is also at the same time unprecedented. You see Donald Trump trying to lean into all this and to really launder or degrade the idea that there's anything to be concerned about. What's one convicted felon? Here's two. What do you think is the political strategy and how will it work?
Yeah, Trump's political strategy is very clear. His message this entire campaign has been, I am strong, Joe Biden is weak. And he is using his own criminality to reinforce his machismo. I mean, criminals have a macho swagger to them. Think of Tony Soprano. Think of Stringer Bell. I mean, you think of all of the criminals you think of them in many ways as macho figures.
Suge Knight, if you're taking nominations, Suge Knight, sure.
Absolutely. And Trump is using the criminality to reinforce his macho message. He is also using the criminality to reinforce a message that I believe is deeply racial. It's why the Proud Boys, you notice, are sort of turned on by this verdict, because what he's really saying is law and order is for minorities. It is for African Americans. When we talk about law and order as Republicans, we're talking about a standard that should not apply to us, to me, a rich white guy. It should apply to poor African American men, predominantly. And so that double standard, which is really offensive and awful, is a turn on to certain segments of MAGA and Trump's base.
Yeah, I think you make a fair point, and it really cuts to the heart of why people can speak in different languages. They said blue lives mattered, but not when those blue lives were upholding the peaceful transfer of power, which they turned violent. Right. And so that goes back all the way to Jim Crow and everything else, which is how something we've, as you know, reported on a lot on this program, the hypocrisy of American criminal justice, which brings us back to Speaker Johnson. As you know, Che, and I try to be respectful around here, but when he says he's a constitutionalist, you don't know whether to laugh or cry. What Constitution? Right. And I want to play briefly the way he talks then versus now to the point you raised. Take a look.
Look, we're the rule of law team. I mean, we believe in the rule of law.
We have rogue prosecutors around the country that have drugged President Trump through this process because of who he is. There's going to be a reckoning on November 5th.
He's not for the rule of law, and echoing what Trump said, the real verdict comes on November 5th. There's going to be a reckoning. A, they don't have any credibility on democracy, Che, because they tried to overthrow their last loss. And B, again, sometimes I feel like I'm just saying the obvious around here, part of the job in the news. We don't put jury verdicts up to a vote in this country.
Right. No, we don't. And not only does Speaker Johnson and various members of the religious right not have any credibility on democracy, I would argue they have no credibility on morality. You know, Speaker Johnson deeply believes that his Christian dogmatic principles should apply to millions of non-believers. They should apply to millions of women whose reproductive rights Speaker Johnson is happy to deny. And that is, by the way, true of Donald Trump. And it also points to me perhaps the greatest failure of Democratic messaging in this whole affair. You know, look, I don't like criticizing Democrats, but we're not talking about this trial enough. We need to talk about it. And we need to connect it to a real world consequence, which is reproductive rights. Donald Trump believes women are disposable. He also believes women's rights are disposable. He wants the government in all of our bedrooms. Let's talk about what goes on in his bedroom. He wants the government in all of our private lives. Let's talk about his private life. I am sorry, when you're selling a Bible, when you're talking about national abortion bans, the Hugh Hefner lifestyle is not an option for you. We should be talking about that. We should be talking about the fact that Donald Trump's personal behavior connects to real world consequences for the American people.
You know, it's really interesting because you're connecting it very bluntly, but everything you said has legal support. Right. You've got justice. You've got a justice appointed by Republicans in Sam Alito talking about his wife's cherished rights to fight with her neighbors and to fly flags that violate the U.S. flag code at the Supreme Court that seem to give comfort to the seditionists, she has that right, but he wants to take away the right, as you mentioned, of all women in the United States to make their own health care decisions with their doctor. That's just a fact, and that is a consequence of Trump, and had he not gotten into office throughout the Electoral College and put on 3 justices, we wouldn't have that rule. And that's real, and we've seen a lot of states where that matters. So it's interesting because, Carville says he's heard from White House officials sometimes after he appears on TV. I wonder if they're listening to you, Che, because you made that point clearly. As for the extremism I want to hit, and we did a report on it this week, you have, in your adult career, always worked against Republicans, including the Bush era. And so I know you disagree with Bush, W, about a lot of things. But I want to play where him and Obama were on the same page about something to underscore how extreme it is to have not only Trump, okay, he's a felon trying not to go to jail, but to have other independent congressional Republicans absolutely bluntly attack the rule of law itself. Take a look at Obama and Bush.
I have a lot of confidence generally in the FBI, and they've got a difficult job.
I thought that the jury verdict should stand. I felt the punishment was severe. We're not supposed to meddle in criminal investigations, and that's been our practice. I think that there are certain procedures that both the FBI follow or DOJ follow.
The fact is, a new line is crossed, Che. Even Nixon wouldn't admit to what Mike Johnson and Trump admit to today. He did some of it and got in trouble for it, but in public he pretended otherwise. From your perspective, what do you and the Democrats do about that when people do tune out these things and say, oh, it's all the usual bickering?
Well, it's not the usual bickering. I mean, one thing that I believe is you always have to connect these sorts of events, Donald Trump's felony conviction, to real-world consequences. And there are real-world consequences. Without the rule of law, what are we as a society? What happens when Donald Trump becomes dictator? And think about the kind of society that Donald Trump wants to create. It's a society that has a double standard, where certain people, if you're poor, if you're non-white, you are subject to certain laws. And if you're rich and you're white, you're not subjected to those laws. If you're a woman, you are subjected to a certain kind of dogma, a certain kind of belief, a certain kind of intrusion into your privacy. But if you're a white male, you're not subjected to that same sort of thing. There are real-world consequences to this kind of hypocrisy, and we are seeing it over and over again. And quite frankly, Democrats need to be stronger in calling it out.